So yesterday we already seen how we can perform a backup of a HANA database using this HANA Studio. That is just one of the options. And there are many other ways we can perform these backups. So you can also perform this backup by using something like DBA Cockpit. So generally, if you're a basis guy, you might have seen DBA Cockpit and worked with the DBA Cockpit. So, so DBA Cockpit is just one of the transaction in any ABAP-based SAP application. So you have any ABAP-based SAP application in your company with application server 7.3 and above. You'll be able to use that DBA Cockpit for doing some admin activities related to HANA database. So one of them is backup. And remember that whatever that application server ABAP, what I'm speaking about, can be part of your ERP application, CRM, SCM, solution manager, anything like that. Doesn't matter. So only thing is it should be on the higher version because then only you'll get a facility to connect to HANA database. Option to connect to HANA database. And that particular application server need not be running on HANA. It can be running on any database. If it's running on HANA database, that's fine. Like take an example here. I'm running one application server app. The latest version is almost 7.52. This I installed on HANA database, so I have facility of taking a backup of that HANA database. But apart from that, even other databases running in the company can also be backed up using this. So if you look at this, this is, I mean, these things you don't try. I'm just showing you for your knowledge sake, just understanding purpose. It's not that you need to perform every activity like this. It's just only for knowledge sake I'm showing you this particularly this DBA cockpit, because DBA cockpit generally we don't use it for our regular HANA activities. So here if you see this is running the underlying database HANA. The requirement now is not taking a backup of that database. I want to take a backup of a different database like this RH1, that one. So to do that, if you go to the transaction DBA cockpit, so you can see here underlying database is this, and I added another database also. Let me remove this. I'll show you how to connect to those external databases, secondary database connections we call them as. So to do that, to establish a connection to that HANA database, Just click on add here. There is an option add system entry. So provide this SID. You can give anything, any SID. Say example, I'm giving RH1. So then you have to choose the remote database, either the connection to the remote database, either you can directly do by using a database connection or even using RFC. Any of those two options you can use. RFC will be able to use only when you are running some application on top of that HANA database. If it's just a standalone database, there's no application running, you have to go with the database connection only. If a database connection is already established, that will be available in this list here, like this. You will be able to select it directly. Otherwise, if there is no connection available like that, then you click on this create. Click on create button. And here you need to provide those details. So all the details like connection name. So this can be anything, connection name. And choose the database system to which you want to connect. We want to connect to HANA database only. Then maximum connections, optimum values, you leave it as it is. It's not compulsory. You provide connectivity details to HANA database. So user ID, password. Don't forget whichever the user we are using here should have the privileges to perform whatever the activities we are trying to do. Like in this case, we are trying to do a backup. So that user we are using here for connectivity should have that privileges required to perform the backups. And then provide the database host name here. And then you also specify the port. The standard port is like this. SQL port. The 00 is nothing but instance number. Your database instance number. So giving all these details, you save it. And that database connection you select. Optionally, you can give description. And save again here. So now you'll get a message like this. The system entry has been saved and activated. So meaning of that is the task of connecting to a HANA database from this DBA cockpit is successful. So now you can perform your activities, admin activities. Now what we want to do is we want to perform a backup of this database now. So you can do it immediately, or you also have an option scheduling also. So if you go to jobs here on the left side, you have that option DBA planning calendar. But first of all, you need to select the database here, that system. So you just click on this arrow here. We can change that system to RH1 because we want to take a backup of this RH1 database. So the currently selected system you change and go to this DBA planning calendar. Double click on that. So once the DBA planning calendar is open, so there you can perform that backup activity. You want, you can perform even scheduling also. There is a scheduling facility actually available, as I told you yesterday. You can't do scheduling using HANA Studio, but you'll be able to do it by using this cockpit. Okay, so let us go to this present date. What are the data we have there? Anyway, just double click here. Don't worry about that. That date is a date of your server there, which is different. So just double click anywhere here. A simple wizard will open. It's a little slow. It's taking a little bit of time, but it opens. Now here, choose the action you want to perform. The action you want to perform is a complete data backup. So you have options to perform that delta backups also, that is differential incrementals. So first let us do this complete data backup. So select complete data backup. So you can specify the start, date and time, recurrences we can give, backup destination, you have prefix. I'm changing this prefix here. I'm just giving a prefix DBA. So I don't want to schedule it. If scheduling is required, you can specify the planned start and recurrences here. How frequently you want to execute, you can just specify. Days, hours, weeks, only once you want to do it. Just specify those options. Otherwise, you want to do it immediately. On the right bottom corner, we have that option execute immediately. So I'm just doing it immediate. So I'm clicking on that execute immediately. So remember, these are all just interfaces for you. When you start your backup activity from here, ultimately backup will run in the database only. Doesn't matter whether you do it by using HANA Studio or do it by using DBA Cockpit, HANA Cockpit, whatever it is, it's an activity which will be performed in the database server. So even though I started from here, so where it's showing you the data backup here, now if you go to this HANA database in the studio, go to the backup console, look at this overview where your backup is started already. So even though it's initiated from there, you'll be able to see it from this backup console of your HANA Studio. So that's why I told you it's not mandatory to use all these different tools. They're just options SAP has given. Don't assume that you have to work with all of them. So it's completed, and you can get more information. Go to this backup catalog, and here you can see all of this file name starts with DBA. And another thing, yesterday I shown you these things where we perform the backup using HANA Studio. But one thing what you need to remember is whenever you perform a backup, all this backup information will be written into a table. There is a backup catalog table. So actually whatever you are getting here in this backup catalog tab of your backup console is all information about your backups is actually from the table only. So irrespective of whether you perform that backup using HANA Studio or DBA Cockpit or HANA Cockpit, whatever it is, the backup information will be written into that table. So there is a table with the name m underscore backup underscore catalog. You don't need to query the table directly because already that information is available in that backup catalog. But just remember, all the backups it will show you. It's data backups, log backups, everything it will show you here. And that information only is displayed in this tab. So this is another way of performing the backups. Another option we have is, as I mentioned, from SPS 10, 1.0 SPS 10 onwards, you are also allowed to perform this backup using HANA Cockpit. So there's a provision given to you. But what happened is when you're speaking about HANA Cockpit till 1.0 version, that is 1.0 last support pack was SPS 12. So any 1.0 SPS 12 till that version, HANA Cockpit used to be part of the server. If you install server, we get HANA Cockpit part of it. But in case you're installing a database server 2.0 version, 2.0 version, 2.0 onwards, HANA Cockpit is not part of the server. Remember this fact. It's not part of the server if it's 2.0 version. So what SAP has done is new versions in 2.0, SAP has separated this HANA Cockpit tool. So they started providing that HANA Cockpit separately, not part of the server. So meaning of that is 2.0 version onwards, if you want to work with HANA Cockpit, so you need to install it separately and then work with that. Anyhow, it will take some more time for you to come to that stage. I'll show you how to work with HANA Cockpit 2.0. We have already 2.0 running. But let me see if any SPS 12 database is available. We'll just try once. Yeah, there is one database here. TS1 is D11 is also SPS 12 only. Let us try those databases. Okay, looks like already a couple of databases running there. Just don't blindly work in the system. You check the freeze memory is available or not. Whether in the based on that, try to work in the systems. Let's slow. So D11 is something. This one is SPS 12 only. So let us see what is the instance of this. 04. I'll just try to add here. Slow down a little bit. No, it looks like my network is hot. That's fine. This is not running. DB7, let us try this. 03. No, not even this running. Look at this. You can also use this SQL statement. And we don't prefer to use that much. We don't have too many options there. But if you want to use SQL statement, you can use this SQL statement. Backup data using file, so and so. That we can do, and that statement we can run. We can just open SQL console in HANA Studio. I shown you just now also. You just open that SQL console. There you can run that. And apart from that, in your server, we also have that HDB SQL. So that also we can use. Okay. Anyhow, see that this D11 database. So I'm just starting it now. So this is SPS 12. Now, this database, let us see how we can perform the backup using HANA Cockpit. So to do that, right click here, go to configuration and monitoring. We have that option open SAP HANA Cockpit. I'll open this in Chrome. It's a better browser. So you log in with your default administrator, that is system user. See, first time when we open that HANA Cockpit, very first time, and that you when you log in with the system user, you'll get this message saying that you're not authorized to open HANA Cockpit. You'll be assigned the necessary roles. Because system user is the administrator, that's what's happening. It won't happen for other users. Remember that. Click on OK, continue. So it will automatically grant roles to that system user. So if you see, there are different tiles they are provided for HANA database administration. But in these tiles, you don't find anything related to backup. There's no backup tile here. So the reason why we don't have that backup tile here default is the system user, even the system user doesn't have the required privileges to perform the backup using HANA Cockpit. So when your interest is performing a backup using HANA Cockpit, I'm telling you this is still SPS 12 1.0 because that's directly available for you on the server, HANA Cockpit. You just go to the security users system. Just like how we granted privileges yesterday, similarly now there are some built-in roles here. Go to granted roles, click on plus button. So that is HANA backup role, administrator or operator. Yesterday I already told you the difference between administrator and operator. So administrator will be able to perform the backups as well as delete old backups, but operator will be performing backups but cannot delete the old backups. So just deploy this. And now because we granted those privileges, refresh this cockpit. Now you should find that additional tile called the data backup, HANA backup. So till now, for that particular database, we don't have any backup. No full backup is performed till now. So looks like it's a newly installed database. But see this alert, immediate alert you'll get database, data backup does not exist. So that's an activity you need to perform. So to perform that backup from here, click on the data backup tile. So in case if any backups performed earlier, that will be shown, the backup catalog. To perform a new backup, in the right bottom corner, we have that create backup option. Just click on that create backup. As usual, same things. Choose the backup type. That complete incremental differentials we have. Then the destination. There's two options. As we are using file, you need to specify that path backup destination path here along with the prefix. Default, you have the date and time that I'm changing now here. That's it. Same thing. I mean, wherever you're doing same activity you're performing, but it's just different interfaces. That's it. So click on backup. Your backup is running now. So that you can visualize here. If you just go to the backup console, the HANA Studio, you can see that backup running. Actually, this is initiated from that cockpit. Now you can see that default you have only three services, three processes: name server, access engine, and index server. In the previous case is what I shown you. The DP server intentionally enabled it. That's why we have that additional fourth one. Here only three will be there. Anyhow, the status you can also see here. So just by clicking on this data backup tile again, you can see that the progress, backup progress. So it's successful. So here you can see high throughput you have. That's why time taken is less actually. So now it will show you that successful. And this is your backup catalog. Just shortly it will show you that information here. Just wait. It's not yet updated. At the same time, you can also see that here in the backup catalog. So here it will show you only the backups. So it won't show you from where we performed it, whether you did it using HANA Cockpit, DBA Cockpit. Doesn't matter there. So this is another way of performing that backup. Okay, so as of now, don't try this in 2.0 because you need to learn how to work with HANA Cockpit 2.0, which is a different concept because we need a separate session on that. See what happens if you try to open HANA Cockpit if you're working with 2.0 and above versions. See what's the message you get here. See what is showing there. HANA Cockpit delivered with 1.0 is no longer available. Please use the cockpit delivered with 2.0. So that's separate installation altogether. Okay, we have cockpit 2.0 also already installed, kept it ready for you. But we need a separate session on that. I'll explain you how to work on that later on the next sessions. And as I mentioned, if you want, we can just write this simple statement. So where we can run this, you can just specify this in the backup console. Suppose if I just right click here, open SQL console, here I can write the statement. I just close these brackets here. So SID, whatever that SID is, G11, and the instance, you know the instance, HDB, then instance number, like that. So that's the default path. You can change that path. So you don't have any too many options here when we are using this statement. But why, when we have Studio, why do we need this? Not required. But sometimes it may happen that you're working on the server directly, the Linux machine. So when you work on the Linux machine directly, they assume that there's no HANA Studio installed. And there in that Linux machine only you want to perform the backup of the HANA database. So you'll be able to do what? See here, what I'm doing is I'm connecting to that server the OS level. I'm connecting to that using SID ADM user. You need to connect using SID ADM. So that is D11 ADM in this case. Enter password. And here we can just run HDB SQL directly. Generally, it is preferable to use or connect to the database in this fashion using this command, this complete command. HDB SQL. -u specify that user is system, the database user. -p enter the password. Then already we are in that host. The host is not mandatory, but if you want, you can just give that host name. You specify that -n. That's not compulsory, but if you want to just give that. Host name in this case is HANA Dev. -i, that instance number, whatever that instance number is, say 4. Just with this. Like this. Don't use that dot slash. So now we are in that particular database D11, and there you need to write that command. So you can just specify backup data using file, and specify that path. Let us give that complete path. The default path we have is slash backup slash data, like this. You run that. Actually, it's running. The backup is running. You want to check that as it is, as usual, you go to this console overview. You should find your backup running here. But we just did it without anything, without any of the tools. Just simply go to HDB SQL, HANA Database SQL here, the OS level. And just run that command. I mean, don't need to, generally we don't use it regularly because we don't have too many options there. But just as another way of doing it, performing a backup. So the reason why I'm showing you all these things is just to get an awareness of that. So tomorrow you should not say that I don't know this. It doesn't mean that you should use all of these tools to perform the backup of your HANA database. Not at all needed. Okay, so these are the different ways you can perform the data backups. But we need to know a lot more things, a lot of things you need to understand. Like you should understand how log backup performs, how log backup can be done, what is the mechanism there. Then As I told you, from SPS 10 onwards, they came up with the Delta backup options, like why they have introduced, what's the need of that. So all these concepts still need to be discussed. So that will take another 2 days, and after that you also have a concept called snapshot, storage snapshots. I'm going to show you those storage snapshots also. So that's also kind of backup only, but used in special cases. Okay, so till that you practice these things. So always when you're done with your work, as I told you, don't forget to log off, not just disconnecting, to log off. Don't forget that. And when you're trying something, just check that free space. Just use this free and making sure that some free memory is available. It's not just blindly start doing something in the system. Okay. Okay. The next we'll have a continuation of this on Monday. We'll see the other concepts we have. And there's backups only. We'll continue on this topic. DBA Cockpit, not only 7.3, older version also you have. 7.0 also is having DBA Cockpit. The point is, if you want to use DBA Cockpit for HANA database backup or HANA database administration, minimum application server version is 7.3 is needed. Because lower versions doesn't have an option to connect to HANA database. Okay. Sure, what's your instance number?
Instance number 01.
01.
The SID AR1.
You're working on 117, right?
Yes. The system is not accessible. Specify the ID, system ID, if you want to register the specified system anyway.